Hi, I'm Nikki, a Whole Foods chef and educator. Today we are going to learn knife skills. This will include skills like how to hold a knife properly, how to chop things so that they are a uniform size, and how to cut foods that are a challenging shape. This may come as a surprise, but the best knife is a sharp knife. No, seriously. No one needs a fancy or expensive knife to prep food in their home kitchen. Having one good knife that is regularly sharpened and handled correctly is better than an entire kit of specialized knives. The trick to picking out a good knife is to try them out. Some people prefer a heavier knife. Some prefer lighter. While I typically reach for a heavy, medium-length chef's knife, some people may feel more comfortable with a smaller or lighter chef's knife. There are two kinds of commonly used chef's knives: the traditional chef's knife and the Santoku knife, also commonly referred to as a Japanese knife. These knives are the workhorse of the kitchen, with many chefs and home cooks preferring to use this one knife for almost all kitchen cutting tasks. If you took a survey, chopping onions is likely among the top 5 most unappealing kitchen tasks. They fall apart, they burn our eyes, it often feels impossible to cut these with ease or efficiency, until today. First, we will start out with a basic slice. The key to most knife cuts with an onion is learning how to keep the onion together in one piece while cutting it. The way we achieve this is by first slicing the onion in half, making sure to bisect the root. After removing the outer skins, you can see that the root edge will be able to hold the onion together as you slice. Steady the root end with your non-knife hand, and using your knife, begin slicing north to south, making half moons. The size of the slice is dictated by how far you move the knife over after each pass through. Eventually, you can make your way down to the root, leaving very little waste of the onion. When we are chopping or making a large and small dice of onion, these cuts get a little more tricky, but not much. For chopping an onion, large or small, you'll want to imagine the onion like graph paper. We need some horizontal lines and some vertical lines to give us a uniform dice. First, we take the knife through the onion horizontally, like an onion sandwich. Then we slice through the top of the onion from east to west, without cutting all the way through to the root. The onion should still be in one piece, now with a bunch of slits through it. Finally, cut with the same motion as we did for the basic slice, and you will see the diced onion fall away from the knife in small or large pieces, depending on what you are going for. For mincing onions, you may end up with some tears, but there is a strategy that will get the job done faster than hacking away at the cutting board like a game of whack-a-mole. Bring a small pile of chopped onions to the center of your cutting board. Leaving the tip of the knife on the board the whole time, methodically run the knife through the pile, keeping your free hand on the top of the knife to direct it smoothly back and forth, up and down the pile, occasionally scraping stray pieces back to the pile. Hopefully, this method leaves you with more onion on the board and less flung across the floor. Our next knife skill is going to involve the potato. There are so many ways to enjoy a potato: in a soup, roasted, fried, or mashed. The problem with cutting a potato and many other fruits and vegetables is that it doesn't lay flat. Cutting something round can be dangerous if not executed correctly. We are going to learn to do this the safe way. Less injuries, more eating. First, you want to decide if you're keeping the potato with the skin on or off. Once that's prepped, we're going to begin by making a small slice off one of the long sides. This will provide a flat base for cutting the potato without wasting too much product. If we are baking the potato into fries or spears, start on one end by making a large slice through from end to end. Keep the slices the same width so that the size stays uniform. Once you make your way through the whole potato, stack 2 or 3 of these slices flat on the board and cut through lengthwise again, making sticks, also known in French cooking as bâtonnets. Chopping a potato evenly is just one small step beyond making sticks. Depending on the size needed, you will make the sticks large and thick or thinner. Then lining these up, run the knife through perpendicular to the sticks, making a cube shape. Hopefully these are all spaced evenly as well. Use chopped potatoes to roast or cook on a stovetop to make a breakfast hash or use in a soup. By chopping these evenly, each piece should cook at the same rate and you won't be left with some pieces burned while others are undercooked. This method of chopping works well whether you're using onions and potatoes or other vegetables like carrots, celery, and squash. So now let's talk about something completely different, slicing meat. The difference between a succulent slice of meat and chew till your jaw falls off wad of meat may not be the result of the way it's cooked, but often the way it's cut after cooking. Against the grain is the way to go. Your steak, tri-tip, or brisket has linear striations of muscle fibers running through the piece of meat. Finding these lines means you can cut across the lines for your slices versus along the lines. Slicing across the grain will give you a piece of meat where you have many lines of fibers which have all been cut short versus a few long lines of tough muscle fiber, which make it tough to chew into smaller pieces. This is also true for chicken and pork, but can be more difficult to see depending on the cut. But you will notice when shredding chicken or pork that the shredding will happen along these muscle fiber lines.